going back to the political is how does the Republican Party manage to harness these people and to sort of make the Republican Party their home? And there, I think a fundamental event is the Supreme Court case Citizens United.
Absolutely.
But what is interesting about it is that the way Citizens United has been decried, especially on the left, was the fact that how shocking it was that now corporations were treated as people, and sort of, you know, the freedom of expression of corporation would be to donate money, and that would be acceptable. So it's kind of paradoxical that, in fact, what Citizen United does is to sort of harness the patrimonial capitalists to the Republican Party by making them the major donors.
Yeah, and I guess this was a big surprise to left-wing commentators. I think the assumption really was that this was going to allow the corporate elite, the old corporate business roundtable elite, to take over parties and to take over the political process. And this did not happen. So corporations do donate, do contribute money to super PACs, but it's a small percentage point when compared to the billionaires and hedge funds and private equity funds, etc. So it's really this particular class of capital that has taken advantage of those changes to campaign finance law. And as I said, they were always trying to get into the political process, the Kochs and the DeVoses. They always wanted to get in there. It took Citizens United to do it. I think in some respects, it's not possible for corporations to do the same thing. For a start, they have a much more mediated system of internal organization, which means that for a firm to make a single political decision, you know, you have to go through the board. There's all kinds of different levels of decision making. But I think the primary factor is that there's just an extreme risk of consumer and shareholder boycott. So why would you take this risk? Now, closely held firms and private equity firms don't run the same risk for various reasons. I mean, one is that they're simply not subject to the same transparency or auditing requirements, but also they're not in the same immediate relationship to shareholders or the institutional investor public as corporations or even the big kind of mega mutual funds like BlackRock are. You know, they're not subject to the same campaigns, or if they're subject to the campaigns, they just, you know, brush it off. The one exception there, I think, is if you look at Musk, I mean, the kind of company he owns, social media, does subject him to a similar kind of risk as a publicly traded corporation, because he does need users. And the result of his takeover has been, this has become more kind of like a storm front with a few kind of holdovers from the left. But he has kind of lost a lot of his user base by doing that. So I wouldn't overstate the case that these private owners are completely immune to boycott. I mean, you know, Musk owns Twitter outright, and there's still been a mass exodus. He doesn't own Tesla outright, but he's suffering at the moment. So they're not completely immune, but I think that at least explains in part the fact that it's these private investment funds that were taking advantage of Citizens United. The result was that the radical right was able to do something that they had been wanting to do since the 1980s. Okay. They could enter into the electoral process. I mean, they're not allowed to coordinate directly with a candidate's campaign, but they are allowed to spend unlimited amounts of money on super PACs. And what super PACs were able to do is to attack the establishment of the Republican Party, to attack the mainstream Republican Party and to purge it and to refashion the party in their image. And it's simply money that allowed this, because often if you look at the primaries that they're running against establishment candidates, often they don't win, but they have so much money that they can go right to the end. It's a kind of campaign of attrition. They may simply win through exhaustion. And if they don't win, what they often managed to do was to reframe the debate, to force the incumbent candidate to talk about the things they wanted to talk about. So stand your ground laws or birthright citizenship, to move the conversation far, far to the right. Okay? But in many cases, they did flush out the incumbents. Okay, and the threat worked. The threat was enough to bring these mainstream Republicans into line. You've seen how they've all kind of lined up very neatly around Trump. So you have this period that it's around the 2010, so it's after Citizens United. It's this very convulsive period in the Republican Party where you just see wave after wave of purges. And the establishment is essentially being flushed out. And during that period, it becomes a party that is a lot more it's a party that has been cannibalized by its own far right. Okay. The ironic thing is that they were able to do this, but they weren't able to choose their own candidate. So, you know, the donor class put a lot of money and effort into remaking the Republican Party in their own image, into making it a kind of machine, a revolutionary conservative machine. And they tried really hard to get one of their preferred candidates in. Trump put no effort into this. I mean, he let others destroy the Republican Party, and then he came along and took advantage of it. It's the kind of vulture capitalist model. You purchase distressed assets on the cheap. So it's the ironic outcome of this whole process that these people completely remake the Republican Party, but the one thing they can't control is the figure of the presidential candidate. I mean, Trump is the populist glue. None of their preferred candidates have that. So he becomes indispensable. The outcome of all that is that these private investor billionaires are able to use their wealth to refashion the party so that it conforms to their ideological views. But more than that, they now are the party. You know, they're the people who are Trump's advisors. They're the people who are in government now. The Schwartzmans and the Musks and what have you. So they've remade the party in their own image and installed at the height of power within the Republican Party their own class of capital.